I've never seen a session like this. Wow. It's taken me it took me all of June just to kind of breathe after that. Wow. A lot of shenanigans.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I was fortunate in that I just read about it. I didn't have to live through it like you did.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I'm not muted. Can you hear me? Hi. Good morning.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Hi, Pedro.
Yes. I'm from. Cassie told me to come and join this meeting. Yeah, she said I might be interested and have some insight about.
Good morning, Shannon. Hi, Nat.
Hi, good morning.
Okay, now you can talk.
Okay. I should do the first one. Good morning, everyone. Aloha Kayaka. I hope you all dry and safe within your homes after we can all suck this one up as survivors of Tropical Storm Calvin.
Yeah.
So we love the tropical storm when nothing happens.
Yeah.
Thank you,
That's
folks.
kind.
And for all the preparedness that the state has gone through disasters. So today is July 20th, and we're having our first meeting of the fiscal year of the Hawaii Correctional System Oversight. And welcome here. Ted Sakai, are you here?
I'm here.
And Ronnie Barra?
I'm here.
Mike Town? Okay. I'm sorry, Ted, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop my video because I don't have a really good connection. So I don't want to lose the connection.
Thank you.
You don't need to see my face anyway.
We miss your face, Ted.
Been a while, Kristen.
I know.
We need your visual for moral support.
Okay.
As long as your facial expression remains the same, I'm doing okay.
Well, I'm here, Mark.
Okay, thank you, Ted. Appreciate that. Martha is not going to be with us today. And we'll just wait. And George, you let me know if you see Mike come on, okay? All right. Okay. So for now, it's just me who's present. Are you going to do the introductions?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you folks take a look at the minutes from the May 18th meeting? This may be a little meeting longer than normal because we did skip June, but let's look at the May 18th meetings and I'll take a motion to accept the minutes at this time.
Move we accept the minutes of the May 18th meeting.
I second.
Okay, been moved by Ted and seconded by Ron that we accept the minutes for the May 18th, 2023. Any further discussion on the minutes? Actually, we don't even have quorum.
We have three.
Okay. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Okay, all opposed, same. Motion passed. We're moving on to item number 4. Good morning to our faithful community who are present here today. We're going to open up this meeting. Any comments that folks may have on the agendas, we appreciate it that you keep it to a minimal at this time. We'll start with those of you who are on the Zoom and end with those who are present. I'm opening up at this time. Any hands?
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Pedro. Cassie told me if I was wanting to join this meeting. Cassie Chi.
Okay.
I really don't know what it's about. What is this? The Hawaii Corrections
Oversight.
Oversight for the corrections industry in Hawaii. Actually, I was incarcerated for a long period. Long periods of time throughout my whole life, but I was just letting people know that this last time I was incarcerated, I was in the medical unit constantly for unreal reasons like lumps and boils and chest problems, and till today it just got worse. It just got worse, and I was hearing so much about the Halaba wells being shut down, and I was thinking, hey, it was bad. The water was bad, because I would always tell the people in the medical unit it was bad, the water. I always used to tell them I can't wait to get out and drink some good water, but I'm not having any resolution with my doctors. They're not sending me to the Hawaii Poison Control. If I just want to know if anybody can help me with that.
Pedro, we got you can put in the chat your email and your information so that we can get back to you. I don't think that we've ever made a connection between the Red Hill situation and Halaba Correctional Facility. You're probably the first one that brought it to the attention of the commission, but it's something that we can look into, and whether or not the Halaba Correctional Facility's water supply is indeed the same source as the rest of Red Hill.
Yeah, I mean, they excuse me, but they did actually have on the news like about a couple months ago, they had a generator underneath the prison, and they was talking about fuel leaks and stuff, but it could be from anywhere, but the whole thing is about Red Hill, where the location is of the lines and stuff. How did the wells get contaminated? It's like one spill 1 mile, 2 miles away, not going to contaminate one well. So, I just started to put things together. I'm like, I know for a fact that something wrong. I get one guy downstairs, my roommate. I live in one halfway house. He going through some heavy stuff. He's bad shape. I mean, his liver, his guts, and we sit down and we talk, and we're going through the same things. And it's like, I talked to my counselor, and she says she has a lot of guys who come out of Halaba with same intestinal issues. I go to my doctor, the intestinal doctor, and I go colonoscopy, x-rays, sonograms, and I'm good. I'm supposedly good, but yeah, this is it's painful. It's painful. I mean, I don't know what's going on. I just, was the Halaba wells connected to everything in Halaba Valley? I don't know. It's just the physicality of my body. I don't feel good. I never went to prison 4 years ago. I felt like, okay, I want to rehabilitate, get off of opioids and everything. But today is like, I feel like I'm 85 years old. It's like, it's crazy. But yeah, if you guys could direct me or know of anybody who can, I don't know what they would do, check your blood for benzenes or what, I have no idea. But I just, all the process of elimination I'm doing. And
we appreciate the story, Pedro. It's something that we are very interested in at this particular time. I'm hoping, George, can we put the commission's website and the contact numbers so that he can have access to us after the meeting, and we can have further conversations, Pedro, okay?
Yeah, you guys give me email address.
You can put it in the chat and we'll get it down.
How is that? How I put chat? So what is chat? Okay.
George will put our email. So our email in the chat there. So George is going to put our email in there, and it's hcsoc@hawaii.gov. And that way we can connect with you offline and get a better understanding of how we can help.
Okay, so I just put it. Okay, thank you. I'll go put it away there.
Mahalo, Pedro.
Thank you.
Appreciate your comments.
Mark, I'm just thinking out loud. I'm just wondering if the Department of Health might have any resources. So that's one place we can check. I think what Pedro is asking is someplace where you can get a diagnosis, and so somebody who, some medical group that might have some expertise in this area. The Department of Health might know.
Thank you, Ted.
Kat has her.
I just wanted to report when Red Hill kind of broke. I talked with Ernie Lau, who's the head of Board of Water Supply, and had been monitoring to make sure that whatever was going on at Red Hill was not going to touch Halava's water. So that's what I was told, that it's separate. But the other thing I wanted to raise is I just got a call from Guayava, and they've been on lockdown for an hour or so. Water, the generators are out, no electricity, no water. And I asked, how hot is it there? Because there's been stories around the country of people dying in prisons from the heat. So I just wanted the commission to know that it's on lockdown. There's no water, no electricity, no nothing right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Kat. We'll follow up. Anybody present today want to make a comment?
Triple C, my understanding is there is a module 7 that is these inmates were once in protective custody, but after they were, I guess, their paperwork was looked over, they actually did not qualify for PC. So they went to
Mark, we can't hear the person speaking really. I hear a voice, but I can't really make out
You
what.
stand up and just come a little closer to the speaker here.
I
I don't know if you'll be on the camera.
I can move the speaker to the corner, and that way your face will.
You can put your mask on. No, so you don't have to.
Thank you. Yeah. My question has to do with the transitioning of inmates from OCCC to Halava. And my understanding is right now there is a module 7, and these inmates came from PC. And at one point, their paperwork was looked over, and the majority of these inmates did not qualify as PC, so they created a module 7, but they are not in general population. Excuse me. So they're sort of in between the twilight of PC and general population. But when they get transitioned to Halava, there is no, my understanding is there is no module 7, so to speak, place for them. So will they be going into general population when they're in sort of a protective custody type setting, but they don't qualify for PC and they're not in general population? That's my question.
Okay.
You want to answer?
Yeah. Okay. So protective custody is definitely a really complicated topic, right? And so I think one of the hardest parts about protective custody is that, and this is very common across the country. This isn't just Hawaii, right? But like, in order for you to be secured in protective custody, you have to give up usually identifying information as to like exactly what the threat is, who the threat is, what's going on, all the background information. So people who are being pressured by gangs, for example, don't want to give up that information because they view it as they're, potentially more at risk, right? So my understanding of Mod 7 was that it was a protective custody housing unit. And so I'm going to look more into that to see exactly what's happening there. But as far as Halava goes, and really any correctional facility that has protective custody, if the individuals aren't willing to give up that specific information to really show that they need it, then they wouldn't be housed in protective custody. Protective custody is really, really held for those who, without a doubt, have a threat against trying to get into protective custody to hurt a vulnerable population too. But I can definitely look more into the Mod 7 situation.
Thank you for the question. Well, Jenna, did you want to make a comment? I see a hand up, or was that the mouse? Okay, that's the mouse. Sorry, everyone. Okay.
Zoom is hard.
All right, thank you. Let's move on to item number
5.
There's been a lot of uncertainty once the legislative session was over in regards to our funding that had only made clear to us about a week and a half ago. in terms of we were informed by the Attorney General's office that our funding had not yet been released. When we made our concerns known to the legislative entities, there was identified a mistake on the state balance sheet.
The
what would you call it? Budget sheet.
budget
The
sheet.
worksheets.
But the worksheets, yes, where if you look at the Hawaii Correctional System Oversight Commission line, it talks about legislative concurring with the budget amount, but there was no list of budget. When the reality was that the legislature did not concur. So the House was committing 500,000. The Senate wanted to commit 400,000. That's just roundabout figures. They went to conference, they couldn't agree, so they did not concur. And so we were not funded by the legislature, okay? The governor stepped in and gave us a year funding.
For 400.
For 400, okay? And so that's where we are right now, that we can operate for this next fiscal year. Is it of concern to us? Yes.
Yes.
It's a concern to us. Okay. So
excuse me, I can leave the meeting because she's gonna get into technical for me about funding and all that. So
yes, Pedro, thank you.
I mahalo much for listening to me and I pray that you guys get back with me. Thank you, because I don't like no this kind of stuff. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pedro.
You guys have a great morning, blessed morning. Bye-bye.
Pedro, I'm sorry to interrupt. Call me, huh? This is Chaz. Call me,
Hey,
please.
Chaz. How you doing, Chaz?
Good. Call me.
All right, Bob.
Ted and Ron, you have any comments you want to make?
No, I don't have any comments, Mark. Thanks.
Mark, so you're saying that our funding is down 100,000 from what we anticipated.
Yes.
So what's the impact of that?
Well,
No investigators.
the biggest impact, yeah. So the biggest impact, well, to be fair, Kat, they didn't necessarily give us investigators to begin with. But the biggest impact is the funding to travel out of state to Saguaro was removed completely. And also the funding for, hold on a second. Yeah, sorry, thank you. Yes, the second part of the funding was for, we had $100,000 to hire a consultant, and we were going to use that money to look at the population limit study that, is a part of our mandate to do. So we can no longer do that project either. We will.
The other impact was we were supposed to be in Kulani today.
Oh,
Everyone knows
yes.
that we're supposed to be in Kulani today, but because the money had not been released to us is why we're on Oahu and not in Kulani. And I just want to have a shout out for those of you on the Big Island so you understand the commission not being on the Big Island today is because of our budgetary issues at this time.
Yeah, now those, yeah.
The Attorney General has also committed to working to extend in the next legislative our budgeting issues. So we're happy that they're working with us at this time to keep the commission up and running. We did have some issues. We did get an extension on, Kristen's job. So she's here with one more year with us because she actually ended in October. So we were able to get an extension on that for the fiscal year as well. So there's a lot of housekeeping things that we are learning to adjust to, and we are learning to then move our commission forward. That Kristen has been given to us in the last year. She issued a year in review report that we will go over some of it today. We know there is a value to the commission. It's really how do the commissioner in the next legislative session really get out there and say and communicate the purpose and the reason why Hawaii needs an oversight commission. Yeah, a real true voice of the people. And that's how I'm looking at it right now. Don't want to look into any kind of political intrigue, but merely we failed to communicate as commissioners the need for the commission in Hawaii and its criminal justice issues and to move forward with reform. and Ron. So that's the final say on that. You folks have anything you want to add?
It means we have to redo whatever our budget is.
Yes, so we have to resubmit our entire budget request. Now, the Attorney General's office, they kind of reminded me like this could be a really good thing. It kind of gives us an opportunity to really reset our requests and really focus in on those 2 investigator positions. We're really hoping for the specific jail investigator and the specific prison investigator. So we're trying to look at this as positively as possible. But yes, we will have to resubmit an entirely new request.
But our staffing will be safe for a year.
For 1 year, yes. Which also, and I just want to be really transparent about this because I've been thinking about it a lot. I don't know if it would be wise for us to hire within this next year just because of the uncertainty. I want to be honest that my staff have already been asking many questions, which I think is fair, and worried about all of our job security. And so that brings additional anxiety of trying to bring in somebody new and have to be open about that, that potential of being limited to a year. Or at this point, less than a year.
No further questions on that line item. We'll move ahead, and as this conversation will touch a lot of things that Christian's going to be able to talk about right now as we move to item number 6 on the agenda. Her monthly report. She'll be reporting out on June and July.
Okay.
If you folks look on our website, you will find the June and July reports as well as the year in review. We had asked Christian as the executive director to give us an accounting of her work since she started 1 year ago. Yeah, and so I think if you folks take a look at that on our website, you'll be pretty impressed at what the commission has done in the last year. Go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah. All right, everyone. So I'm just going to very briefly touch base on these reports. Again, they are available on our website, so please take a look. And George, if you can drop the links in to the chat, I'd really appreciate that too. Thank you. Okay, so focusing on June for just a moment, we do have 2 in custody deaths to announce. So on Saturday, May 30th, 2023, a person in custody, male, 77 years old, was transferred from Halava to a nearby hospital where he was admitted. And on Thursday, June 1st, 2023, Halava was notified that the individual was pronounced deceased.
Hi, is Dr. Tresh there, please?
Oh, Bob, you're not on mute.
Maybe like 20 minutes.
Or George, can you? Okay. And on Monday, June 5th, 2023, a person in custody, male 61 years old, was found unresponsive in the infirmary of the Halava Correctional Facility. This individual was on hospice and unfortunately pronounced deceased by a medical doctor at 2:18 a.m. On a lighter note, I do want to announce that we do have new staff. I'm so excited to have Kara Campani join our team. She's joining our team as the Commission's first Reentry and Diversion Oversight Specialist. Kara brings in over a decade of experience working with national organizations, leading the work of the DC Corrections Information Council and their inspection and monitoring work. And also she was a part of the Vera Institute of Justice Reimagine, really looking at, new reimagined visions for the future of jails, prisons, and public safety as a whole. So we're thrilled to have Kara. If you haven't met her yet, you will, I'm sure, soon. She's already doing incredible work. So great to have you. For facility tours, especially with having Kara, I have to say in her first month, we have hit every facility, including Saguaro. It was quite the month, but we got it all in. Kara stuck with us through it all. And so all of the facilities have been toured within the last month or month and a half. Other than that, I think those are the big issues big topics I wanted to cover in June. So I'm going to shift to July. So for July, I'm going to skip over the budget update. We've covered that. And so for in custody deaths, We have 3 to announce. On June 3rd, 2023, a person in custody, male, 62 years old, was transferred from OCCC to a nearby hospital where he was admitted due to a terminal illness. And OCCC was notified that the individual was pronounced deceased at 1:45 a.m. In addition, on Friday, July 7th, 2023, a person in custody, male, 36 years old, was found unresponsive in his cell with facial injuries. Healthcare was immediately notified and conducted CPR and called 911. The Honolulu Police Department, State Attorney General investigators, state sheriffs, and PSC's Internal Affairs Unit and the coroner all came to the scene and pronounced the individual deceased at approximately 9:26 p.m. The case has been classified as a murder, and the state sheriffs, PSC's Internal Affairs, and the Attorney General investigators are all conducting their own respective investigations, with the AG's office actually taking the lead in this investigative role. And lastly, on Sunday, July 9th, 2023, a person in custody, male, 68 years old, was transported to a nearby hospital from Halava's infirmary. This individual was on hospice care, and Halava was notified that the individual was pronounced deceased at 11:57 p.m. And so since I started, I believe there have been 18 deaths in custody. I do want to make sure that the commissioners and the general public are aware of Going Home Hawaii's Reentry and Restoration Summits. We're extremely excited about this. This was a massive collaborative effort to put this together, obviously being led by Going Home Hawaii. All the information for that is in our report. If you'd like to register and come, we will have a couple of our commissioners and our staff attending as well. Other than that, we did host a tour of HCCC with the Hawaii Prosecutor's Office. It was a great tour. We were really glad to collaborate on that, and we're looking forward to continuing to working with not just Hawaii County's Prosecutor's Office, but also all the Prosecutor's Office to get them into the facilities and really have important conversations about what public safety looks like and how we can do a better job across the states. Additionally, there was a tour of Halava and OCCC with the Senate. Mark had attended that tour. I think it was a great day, very informative. And so there's more information in the report about that. We also, Commissioner Ronnie Barra and I participated in the Big Island Press Club Newsmaker event. This was an hour-long televised interview, and I was nervous, but it was a great time. We really prioritized and highlighted the commission's important work and why we need to exist and continue to exist. And so a link to that interview, if you'd like to check it out. Also with the Saguaro tour, this was a really unique tour. We were actually invited by the Hawaii Paroling Authority to attend and actually review the parole hearing process. So this was a 3-day event. So we toured the facility with the Hawaii Paroling Authority and then on all the parole hearings, and we learned a lot. And so we kind of listed out some initial impressions. I do want to be clear. So far, these are the only parole hearings we have sat in on. And so the initial impressions are specific to that Saguaro event. But we found that the board members were very prepared for the hearings, and we felt that they made extremely fair assessments. We did notice that some of the recommended programs were unavailable to people in custody due to wait lists, waiting periods, requirements, and programs not being offered. This is definitely an area the commission is going to prioritize, as we are actually mandated to look at making sure that the offender reentry system is providing those programs and services that result in timely release. So this flows perfectly in that. Additionally, we did notice that in general, people in custody were not very well prepared for the parole hearings. But with that said, I think that Hawaii does do a good job in that they do make sure that there's a public defender or some type of representative for the individual in custody, in addition to having their programming staff there with the individual. So if there's questions about the programming, different things, the staff can kind of jump in and fill in any of those gaps or questions. But at the same time, it's still important for people in custody to just be more prepared. It's definitely a nerve-wracking experience. So that was just something that we had noticed. There was a language interpreter, which is great, but the downside is that it was over the phone. It was really hard for them to hear and understand. And so that did definitely extend those particular hearings. And then lastly, we noticed that some individuals who were in segregation, disciplinary segregation, and the SHIP program came into the hearings in wheelchairs. And this was because their arms and legs were shackled for transport and for the actual hearing. Other than that, we just kind of run through Saguaro in general. The one thing I do want to point out is the SHIP program. Kara and I did spend a little time in the SHIP program talking to a couple individuals who are housed in there and also staff. And we're definitely concerned. This program is one that is it's listed as programming housing. That's how it's referred to as. However, there's 3 phases of this program. In each phase, Kara and I find their cells 23 hours a day. Phase 2, it's 22 hours a day. Phase 3 is 21 hours a day. We know at this point that amount of segregative housing is really detrimental to people's mental health and well-being. And so this is an area that Kara definitely wants to focus into, and I 100% support. This also highlights the importance of us being able, to go to Saguaro, because again, we have a different function than the auditors or the staff who are at the facilities, right? So I just wanted to point that out as well. Other than that, we're going to cover the MCCC Commissioner Tour later in the agenda. And so I will switch over to the year in review. I'm not going to go through this. It is a long report. It is 20 pages, but definitely take a look. We really cover what the commission has looked like since gaining staff. That was really the focus of this report. And so, definitely expanding the commission's capacity, especially with all the facility tours, elevating legislative priorities, really being able to help the commission be prepared and, helping submit the testimony, helping prepare for the hearings. Obviously publishing reports. We've published a lot of reports in this last year. I believe it's over 20. Elevating the commission's work through media. We not only have our website where we have all of our information, but we have social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So please follow us. Increasing accountability by tracking issues. What comes to mind the most is HCCC conditions. There's been immense improvement in HCCC among other spaces as well. And also building local community and nationwide partnerships. We have tried really, really hard to meet with community members. Anytime someone wants to have a sit down or go to lunch, we really, really try to prioritize that, because we know that this commission wouldn't have existed without community really pushing for us to exist. So we want to make sure that we always prioritize that. And again, with that said, we really do apologize we couldn't be on the Big Island today. I very, very much tried to make it very clear the impact of not making that trip. And so I just wanted to reiterate that. And then lastly, securing partnerships. So some of you are aware that, we've done a great job of securing a lot of free work. So our case management system, which I believe would have cost us upwards of $1 million at this point, because they keep continuing to work with us. That's all completely for free. That should be launched within the next month or two. Also with a couple other projects we're going to mention later on in this agenda, but we have national partners who are stepping in, again, completely for free. We're looking at partnering with the local universities and, just trying to make the biggest impact we possibly can with the resources we have. And then the last point is just moving forward with strategy. And so many of you are aware of our strategic plan that we put out last January. We focus very much in on that strategic plan. It encompasses our priorities, our values, our mission. And so we're really, really proud of that and having that really focus our work forward. So unless the commissioners had any questions, that should be all the reports.
Okay, Ron.
Well, I don't have any.
Go ahead, Ron.
Oh, no, I don't have any question. Thanks, Kristen, for what you've done.
Thank you.
I have a few questions, Kristen.
Okay.
At the parole hearings, how many hearings did you were there, and do you recall what the hearings were about? I mean, were they like to set a minimum or to request for reduction or for parole grant?
So, if I'm remembering correctly, it was 17 or 18 hearings that we watched, and the vast majority were released. Yeah. Okay, good. Kara's shaking. So yes, the vast majority were released. I don't remember covering any. Yeah, there were no minimums, no reduction of minimums. Now, the one thing I do want to highlight, though, on the reduction of minimums, and I did bring this up to the parole board directly. When Kara and I were touring the facility, we spent some time with quite a few lifers. And one thing that was continuously coming up was that they have been putting in for a reduction of minimum requests to the parole board. And the response that they're getting is that they need to complete, a list of very specific programming, right? And so like RDAP 3, for example. The problem is those specific programs that are being listed have a massive wait list to the point where if you're not within, maybe 3 to 5 years of your minimum, you're not going to get into that program. So what I had brought up to the parole authority was, basically, like, does that make sense? Like, because it just seems like they're kind of set up for failure. And they reiterate they really want to see those programs. And I said, I understand, but those programs are applicable to release. They're not asking to be released. They're asking to reduce their minimum. So you can still require those programs and not release them until they have it. But to say that you're not even going to consider a reduction of minimum until that point was really concerning to us. This is, again, a newer issue for staff. I know it's not new for the commission. But now that we've hired somebody to really focus in on reentry specifically, that's absolutely a topic that we're going to dig into more.
Well, I think you just confirmed a concern that we've been raising for months and months now. The lack of a programming process to get inmates from the point of entry to the point of parole. For example, why are inmates been having parole hearings for parole release while they're still in Saguaro, while Waiava and Kulani sit virtually empty? And as we witnessed on Maui, we'll discuss this more when we reach the Maui discussion. There were very few inmates in the Maui furlough program. It's sort of like the system is constipated. And I think we really need to explore what's happening from the get-go. Why aren't inmates programmed for success from the very start, from the time they enter Halava? Meanwhile, we see the department's plan for what we'll see is to add, 300 more so-called reentry beds, when there's virtually nobody in reentry right now.
Right.
Yeah. So I think it's a very serious problem that has real implications for the management of the population and the size of the population.
Yeah.
And I think we need to give it really high priority. And I'm glad Carol's here.
Yeah. I was just going to say that.
Me too. Yeah, no, I couldn't agree with you more, Ted. And it was really interesting because when Kara and I toured all the facilities, I tried to be careful about not sharing my opinion directly, right? See, like, what were Kara's first impressions and initial impressions? And that was it every time. Like, why is it that these low-level beds or community beds are empty and then all the higher custody beds are absolutely full? You know, and even at MCCC, I believe there were 3 people in the furlough beds, even though they could fit 50, I think they said. So it was just, yes, I wholeheartedly agree with you, and we'll work with you and you know, figure out how to best strategize and prioritize moving forward for reentry specifically.
Yeah, clearly, you know, we have a law in place, and Kath, I know, is very familiar. She virtually wrote the law about 15 years ago that mandates a reentry process.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it states in the law that reentry begins at intake, and it's simply not happening. And I don't know if the department is even aware of what the problem is. The other question I have has to do with is more a comment, the SHIP program. You know, anything 20, the commonly accepted definition of restrictive housing is 22 hours in cell, 22 hours or more in cell. And so I would suppose in SHIP are in restrictive housing, and we need to look at it as such and make sure that all of the elements to protect inmates while in restrictive housing are in place. But the second comment I want to make is that SHIP started back in more than 20 years ago when we had some really bad actors in Arizona. And like I said, it's more than 20 years ago, and the entire thinking on restrictive housing has changed nationally and internationally, and the standards have changed. And I think it's time for the department to really take a close look at what SHIP is all about and how it's working and who goes to SHIP and what the process is. So it's just a comment.
No, I totally. Thank you so much, Ted.
And just so Ron understands, when we talk about SHIP, she talked about 23, 22, 21 hours, 3 phases. Can you put some months to that?
Yes, yeah. I can.
So that people understand that this is a period of time that they have to go. So it's not one day. Yeah.
Yes. So SHIP is a 12-month program. And so when you're placed into SHIP, and I should be clear about this too, SHIP is meant for people who have violated specific institutional rules. And usually it's 2 or 3 rules that have been violated. And so they have you know, a meeting together with the person in custody, and they decide whether they should be in SHIP or not. So it's broken into 3 phases, and each one of those phases is 4 months long. Now, I should say that Tommy Johnson, it did reduce the length of SHIP. I believe it used to be 1.5 years.
Yes.
And so Tommy did reduce it to 1 year, which obviously is very appreciated. But there's still deep concerns here. I mean, that is a very, very long time to be in restrictive housing of any kind. And the concern of it is that individuals who are in SHIP cannot participate in any of the programs that are required for parole. And so RDAP, anything like that, they can't participate. And so if you're on the wait list for RDAP and you get into SHIP, you just added another year to this individual. You know, if they had the potential of getting out, you have another year added. Did that cover?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I just wanted Ron to understand that this is a long period of time.
Yeah.
Well, and just for comparison purposes, under Department of Public Safety rules, if you have a committed offense for which the maximum discipline is considered greatest, you get 60 days max. And so you're saying that people could be in restrictive housing for up to 1 year. It's simply not squaring with what the department wants or should not square.
We are concerned that the department is using the SHIP program as a workaround to their restrictive housing policy. Exact point. Absolutely.
Well, this is something where I know your plate is overflowing, but somebody like the Vera Institute might be interested in taking a look at.
Yeah,
Just a
that's
suggestion.
thank you, Todd. That's
I
a
think
great.
there's someone nationally right now that's been pushing the conditions of confinement
Yeah.
nationally, Ted. So,
Amend.
okay. Thank you, Kat.
We're working with them too.
I'm sorry. Question for Kristen on her report. She mentioned 18 deaths in custody over a period of 2 years.
No,
1 year.
1 year of since she's came.
1 year.
Yes. I'm sorry. She's reporting out since we were able to report.
Since October of 2022.
Do you have a sense of what the